estate broker, coming to you live with Talks on Tuesday with Todd at 12, or T3, or I guess we could go T squared, however it works out, with Amped Realty here. And I appreciate you stopping by my blog. Today we're going to talk about a subject that we tend to run into quite a bit, and that is, when should you pay above asking price? Now, I got JC helping me out here. We were knocking around some ideas a little bit earlier before we came on. And of course, as some of you all know, I tend to get off topic a little bit. And so JC is going to help me stay the straight and narrow on the path and get right to the point on that. So JC, with that intro, kind of where did we start on our questions with regards to this?
From what I see, the first kind of thing we wanted to go with was, if you have a house, you really need to have it, and you want to make an offer on it, but the seller's kind of firm on their price, and you need help with closing costs and prepay assistance. I guess, how should we go about getting that home if it's kind of out of our budget, but it's the dream, your dream home, for instance?
Right. Well, I mean, that first-time home buyer, and you have a very specific budget. Now, let's say, for example, you've got a budget of 150, and let's say you're able to, you go in and you find a house for 145, as an example, right? You've still got 5,000 to work with, but you as a buyer need some assistance in your closing costs and prepaids, and you're trying to get that because you don't have a lot of money to bring to the closing table, and that's fine and completely understandable. And again, our job here is to help you get into the house with as little out of your pocket as possible. Now, in some cases, what you may have to do is to offer, and these are the things that you have to remember as a buyer, right? So the seller looks at the grand picture, but when we're representing the buyers, we want to get you the best deal possible. But on the other side, the seller is going, well, if they're offering me 145 and they need 5,000 in closing costs and prepaids, I'm really only netting 140, and I'm not willing to do that. But if you found your dream house, is your dream house worth that extra $5,000? Now, again, the thing that you have to remember is that when you're looking at your mortgage, okay, and you're coming up on that additional money that you're taking, understand that you're stretching that out over a 30-year fixed rate for most of my buyers out there, that you're stretching that money out, $5,000 over 30 years at a fixed rate at, probably less than 5% right now. So, what are you adding? You're adding $1.50, $1.75 onto your total mortgage package. Are you really willing to lose the house for $1.75? Now, when you go above and beyond the asking price, right? Keep that in mind. Obviously, staying within your budget of 150, you can go in and you can ask the seller to pay your closing costs and prepaids, but add that on to the top, right? So you take that money back. So you've given the seller their price for the 145. You've borrowed that 5,000 in order to pay your closing costs and prepaids to get you in the house, and you're able to obtain your dream house while still staying within your budget and going over the asking price. So again, keep the bigger picture in mind, that this is not a game where it's 3 to 5 years down the road you've got to repay that loan. This is over a 30-year fixed rate. And remember too that you're buying an appreciating asset, so you'll be able to make that money up in the back end when you go to sell that property, several years down the road. Does that make sense, JC? Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I guess just hitting on that, what are some ways that affects, I guess, I know the market kind of changes between being a seller's market and a buyer's market. Between those two, I mean, how would that affect your offer on the home in that case? For instance, if there's, influx, there's actually too many homes in the market versus there's a scarcity, how would that affect, your offer?
Right. And the thing is, you have to look at some things from a buyer and seller's perspective. Again, when you get into real estate, and you're looking to buy or you're looking to sell, we've always got to think of it like a chess match. We've always got to stay 2 or 3 moves in front of our opponent, and that being the buyer or the seller, depending on who we're representing. But as a buyer, when you're coming in there and you want to know whether or not you're going to be in a competitive market, look at the neighborhood and find out if the homes, this is just a general rule of thumb, if the homes are selling in less than 10 days on the market, then you're definitely in a seller's market, and you're probably going to have to pay at or above asking price, okay, with regards to that. Now, remember this, as a buyer, you're protected under the guidelines of the safety net for the appraisal. The house obviously has to appraise in order for the bank to lend you money. But if you've got, let's say you come into a neighborhood and there's 5 or 6 homes that are on the market, and they've all been on the market for over 30 days, you might have a little bit of negotiating room in your pocket, okay, in order to do that. But if you find that house and you're in the seller's market, you're probably going to have to pay above or over the asking price with regards to that. Now, sometimes when you're in a seller's market, you're going to end up going into a multiple offer situation. And that multiple offer situation will call for more cash on the table. But just remember, more cash on the table is not always the best offer when it comes down to it. It's just how those offers are written. And we can talk about that's a whole nother topic. But for the most part, again, the seller is looking to see what they're going to net from the transaction. But as a buyer, again, you have to stay within your budget. You have to make sure that the house is going to appraise for that price. And you have to kind of know, again, what your numbers are. So on a seller's market, be prepared. That's pretty much the short answer to things there, JC, is you've got to be prepared for an opportunity to bid over the asking price.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, if we've talked about if it's seller's market, homes are being sold really quickly. For instance, what's your experience with a really nice property, a really nice home that's blatantly kind of maybe underpriced? It seems like it's too good to be true. How do you feel about making a higher offer on a home like that with clients? Do you ever go ahead? Do you ever go and make the suggestion that the first offer in, higher offer is better, or is it more of waiting and see kind of thing?
Again, if it's underpriced, again, looking at the whole numbers, and I've had several clients that have been in this situation where the property has been underpriced. And I know everybody wants a deal, but if you bring it up to market value, you're probably not the only one that realizes that. And there's other people that you're going to be bidding against, right? So again, what you're doing is, if you've got a house that's underpriced and you can still get it under maybe what the true market value is, you're literally walking into equity right there. You're already got up a jump on anybody else in the neighborhood. Now, again, you might find things that you're going to have to put into it in order to bring it up to the market standard, but at least you know that you've got a good foot in. And anything that's blatantly underpriced, be prepared for a bidding war and be prepared to write up that contract that's a very strong contract. Again, there's ways to do it on top of offering additional funds, but there's also ways to do it to make you a much stronger buyer without offering too much in funding, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you definitely hit on that one. As far as everything that I had today, I think we covered majority of it. There wasn't anything particularly that I had, I guess, outside of the scope of what we went over. So
sure.
If you have anything else you want to hit on, I don't have anything else for you today.
Well, sure. Well, let me one thought that I was just thinking of here while we were chatting is, if we know for some reason that we're coming up against a cash offer, because sometimes we'll have an insight as an agent as to what type of offer is there. Sometimes we can dig around a little bit. Again, if you're coming into a cash offer, remember, cash isn't always king when it comes to the end result for the seller. And remember that even though somebody has offered cash, when you get to the closing table, it's always a check or wired funds. Nobody ever comes with that suitcase and says, ta-da, here it is, all in single unmarked bills, right? No, but cash isn't always king. But again, if you go above and beyond, most people that have cash want a discount because they're bringing cash to the table and they can close quickly. But if a seller is willing to wait for, say, an additional $5,000, that would benefit the seller, and obviously that would benefit the buyer because the buyer then would get their dream home and be able to get into the house. And hopefully make many memories for many years to come. So again, dealing with the different types of financing, sometimes when going with a financed offer versus a cash offer. But pretty much that's all I've got there for you today. It's just a couple of times that you're going to see when you're going to need to go above and beyond the asking price. Remember, again, real estate's kind of like a chess game. We're always staying 2 to 3 steps ahead of the competition. And, as a buyer and you're dealing in this, remember that you're dealing over a long-term period, over a 30-year fixed rate versus a, 3 to 5. It's not like buying a car where you're going to have a higher payment for a shorter period of time. And remember, break those numbers down. Talk to your agent, talk to your broker, okay? Talk to your mortgage broker, and really find out what your numbers are and where your budget fits in, and then come up with a strategy to get that house, but stay within your budget. Okay. So again, here at Amped Realty, we're happy to be a resource or be a service for you. If we can answer any related questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Area code 502-220-4663, or just remember it as 220-HOME, HOME. You're welcome to give us a call. Or again, Todd at amped, AMPED realty.com. And always happy to help. And just remember, don't keep us a secret. We want to be the person that can help you out in your real estate needs. So take care, everybody. Have a great one and enjoy this crazy, wonderful Louisville weather we're having right now until it rains again. Have a wonderful day.